talk about the why and how. Every move we make, every step we take, it's all for His glory. We're wide awake. Yeah, we're called to walk this road together through the highs and stormy weather. Disciples dance, disciples dance. We're called to honor, we're called to bless. Yeah, disciples dance. Stay in His will, give Him your best. Oh, disciples dance. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Disciples dance. Disciples, yeah. When the world pulls you left and right, yeah.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Disciples Desk. I am your host, of course, Pastor Randy Lavelle Brown. Thanking you for tuning in once again. Giving all praise and glory to the Most High God for this opportunity to be before you. And I'm blessed at this time to be joined by two prominent men of God. The first guest of the Disciples Desk podcast. I'm honored to have these guys with me. We have Pastor Harold Timberlake and Pastor Donté Jackson. Just to give you a quick write-up or background on these two gentlemen, Pastor Timberlake was born in Ithaca, New York in January of 1978. Then he relocated to Flint. Began his early education and learning. Father of four, Quali, Destiny, Antonia, and Amaya Grace. He served in the gospel ministry over the past 31 years, senior pastor for churches. Currently is working on his mortuary endeavors to serve the community. Which y'all got a similarity because my brother's father is in that same field. My brother Donté Jackson, prominent figure from West Virginia, known for his work as a pastor and community leader and advocate for social justice. He began his ministry to preach word back in July of 2000. It is claimed preaching the gospel in the pulpit or outside of the pulpit, as is love. Pastor Donté is a formal education, of course, the mighty DuPont High School of Bell, West Virginia, Marshall University, West Virginia State, and Ohio Christian University, where he's focused on his MBA. Gentlemen, it's an honor and a privilege to have y'all on here, man. This is gonna be a different one now. This is definitely gonna be a different one. We're taking I wanted to come on here and we wanted to talk, and I wanted to get a pastor's point of view, because I don't know if as we call them, the lay members understand what it's like to when a pastor falls out of fellowship with the church. You know, all of a sudden everything is good. One moment we built up, next moment they kick the rug out from under you and they falling you down, they casting you out, they treat you like you got leprosy, whatever have you, man. And so it's a different, and I want to address that. I want to address, does it feel like a double standard? Does it feel like, okay, well, we are prominent as far as leaders in the church. So maybe it's just we're just held to a different standard. But we're gonna talk about that and we're gonna get some things ironed out and aired out. And I want you guys to be able to share your feelings. I'm gonna share mine. My story ain't that in depth. They just, stop liking me. I don't know why. But you guys, I want y'all to tell y'all story the best way y'all can tell y'all story, and y'all are the only ones that can tell your story the way you can. Amen. So, brothers, first thing I want to know is there anything y'all want to say to anybody, everybody, as when we get started? Pastor Dante, you can go first if you like.
Sure. Again, Randy, thank you for having me. Blessing to be here with Pastor Harold, as well as all those that are viewing. Just extremely privileged and blessed to be asked to be a part of this platform. again, I'm a native of Rand, West Virginia. Um, so shout out to all of those in the 304. I now reside in Louisville, Kentucky, where I serve as an associate minister at Canaan Christian Church under the pastoral leadership of Dr. Walter Malone Jr. Um, I also serve at Simmons College of Kentucky as director of culture, connection, and campus ministry. Uh, our president just calls me the campus pastor. So just grateful to be there um, and be here. And I guess that's my short introduction. I'll give it pass it over to Pastor Harold.
Okay.
I appreciate you, brother. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, man, I love the Buddhist, so
We're good. We're good.
this is just you have to this introduction. Okay. Yeah, man, nothing much to me. I'm just I don't know. I think I'm like a sojourner just traveling through this barren land. So currently, I guess man, I don't know. Pastor Randy, I'm sorry, buddy, because is this just an introduction?
Yeah, bro. I was just before we got started with the conversation and me hitting y'all with questions, just whatever you wanted to
Okay.
say or however you wanted to open.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry about that, man, because it went out on me, and then I had to come back. So, man, let me see, man. I love ministry. I love God. This is the life. This is my life. But you know, I don't know, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just looking at ministry different. I'm not looking at Jesus differently. Now I'm looking at God, or who we call God, differently. I'm not looking at scripture differently, but I'm looking at ministry differently. I'm looking at the church differently, looking at people differently, honestly. I'm looking at it. I mean, again, this is my life, but I've looked. I've taken the time to step to the side, not step down, but step to the side and be really, truly real with myself, with what I'm seeing. And I'm excited to conversation. Wait to hear what he has to say. Opportunity, because I personally have not had the opportunity to do this. So I mean, that's pretty much, again, ministry. When I mean my whole life, my entire life. So I'm not gonna say what I've done all these years and all that stuff, because a lot of that stuff, and I'm glad that I have, because I got the experience, but I don't know how much it really adds up, man. I mean, I ask what I'm seeing and what I'm gonna say tonight, but man, I'm gonna tell you, for the time spent, buddy, means nothing to a lot of people that I even serve now. To be honest with you, it doesn't. So, but to be here, and I love Jesus. I want to keep saying I love God, love the Holy Spirit. Thank God for the Holy Spirit. That's the keeper, because people aren't.
We a lot of focus and the hope and the prayers that we will get you to be able to give y'all guys the opportunity to speak from the heart, and just keep it 100 with everything and everybody. So just to jump in, I just want to know, when did y'all know your calling? Like, I know mine, you know how the old folks used to talk over you, like, baby, you gonna be a preacher one day. You gonna bring the word. And I said, no, I will not. I shall be. And then this further from that. So I pretty much, I guess, from that point on, I was running from it till shortly before I met Pastor Donté, to be honest with you. I found I happened to go back home, and my godfather was doing a teaching on the gifts, and he was and in that teaching, man, it hit me so hard, bro, and it was just like, okay, I gotta surrender at this point, and I was in my 30s, so Pastor D, what about you, man? When did you first know that you were called?
Yeah, interesting you should ask because, and I share this often, but I knew I was called to ministry in the eighth grade. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, man, we good.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I knew I was called to minister in the eighth grade. There were a couple of instances that really stand out to me, especially at this moment. So I figure I'd share. Um, Growing up in my father's church, um, in the Mount Olivet district of the West Virginia Baptist State Convention, we had our summer sessions. And in those summer sessions, as you can imagine, there were there could be anywhere from 40 youth involved to 10 youth involved. And often, no matter how great or how little the number, I was usually one in the number. My great aunt, my aunt Gay Fredericks, who's gone on to her heavenly reward, was the youth director, and she was from a very prominent church um, in our area called Ferguson Baptist Church, Ferguson Memorial Baptist Church. Shout out to Bishop Eofonso Helliger. And her passion, not only as an educator, but as a worker with youth, led me and my cousin and a lot of other young people to kind of get involved for those years. But something specific was happening in those specific years. And there was a number of things. Um, there was a musical sort of convention or workshop weekend that took place every February called the Black Sacred Music Festival, and that was an opportunity for young people to get together in my area, and just a lot of things going on in my adolescent years, along with I started in music, and so I began as a drummer. And, from drums, I went to singing. From singing, I obviously went to preaching. But the point that I'm getting to in all of this is all of that sort of collision of events, uh, put me in an environment where the seed that was deposited in me the hard outer exterior could be rubbed off, and something began to shake in me, that I wasn't really, quite ready to embrace. Number 1, I'm in the 7th grade, 7th, 8th grade. Um, uh, I'm trying to, I'm trying to be about these girls. You feel me? I'm trying to do that. And, not to mention football, basketball, track, and all the things that were going on. I'm like, "Ah, Lord, I can't really preach right." You mean like right now? Um, yeah, I don't know about all that. So I kinda kept it under wraps until my freshman year of college. After my freshman year well, started at Marshall in 1999, Marshall University, and after my freshman year it was 2000, summer 2000. I'll never forget. I called my dad, and I called him in tears, and I said, "Dad, I just get." Oh, shout out to my dad. Hey, Dad, Pastor James C. Jackson, Levi First Missionary Baptist Church in Ram, West Virginia. I called my dad, and I said, "Pops, I can't do this. I can't run no more. I gotta preach. I gotta preach." And he was like, "Well, hold on, son. Hold on, son. Let us get some things together first, and we gonna work with it. We're gonna work through it." And then in July of 2000, preached my initial sermon, became licensed minister, and the rest is sort of history. Sorry for that long story, but it's my journey.
Oh, that's a heck of a journey. Hey, Junior, huh? Bro,
I knew,
that's
man.
crazy.
I knew. I really
God,
did.
yeah, man. God don't play. He start tugging on you early. That's wild. Pastor T, what about you, bro? When did you first know you had your calling?
Man, I've been always infatuated. My family early on, they it's ministry on both sides of the family. Always been involved, but my grandfather was probably my greatest influence, man. Pastor Harold Timberlake. senior, probably the first pastor on my dad's side. I think the first pastor on my dad's side. And man, I was just I just always just loved the preaching, his brothers and all that, uncles on the other side, both sides, cousins, all that. But early on, man, I was always preaching and mocking them. Loved that. But then about 15, it's almost like my heart grew ears, and I heard the voice of the Lord.
Mm.
Literally, that's how I explain it. I explained it at that time, but I knew it was something that I knew innately that I had to do or had to do, and then embraced at the same time. Just loved it. Knew I wasn't ready though, because I'm just like Pastor Donté, man. Hey, buddy, I like the girls. Yeah, no, I'm being honest, man. So it's like, how can you really? And then I was, where I was, man. I'm telling you, people are very judgmental because they judge themselves. They've been judged their whole life, Flint, Michigan, and so man, they'll talk bad about you. Hypocritical, being hypocritical, and I didn't want to be that. I really didn't want to be that, and that's a struggle for a young person, which is a lot what happened to me early on in my life, is to accept the calling so young and not really to be prepared and really still just be a young man. That's really tough. And there's not a lot of navigation with that, unless you have really great mentorship. But even with that, you still there's so many things you have to go through. And people don't give a lot of room for that. They don't give a lot of room for when you're called early, but you're still young. And then for the individual that's actually having to walk that Via Dolorosa, the person that has to walk that, you there's so many things that you really don't even say. So I so anyways, October 2nd, 1994, I was a junior, or was I a sophomore? I'm not sure, in high school. And I accepted, I preached my initial, we called it trial sermon, but trial sermon that night. And that started everything, man. Since that time, 1994, October 2nd, 1994.
I got
So
you. So
yeah.
now with y'all being so young, you know what I mean? Like y'all were babies. Like essentially, did like anybody that was in the ministry already or in the church already try to deter y'all? Like, hey, y'all, this ain't really what you want right now, young fella. Like, hold off for a little bit, or anything like that.
I honestly can say that um no. Um and by the time that I had that I preached my initial sermon, um I'd had, you gotta realize that's a 5-year span. So from well, yeah, from 14 to 19, so I'd had enough time to kind of grapple with it and figure out if it's what I really wanted to do. And so by the time that I finally did it, it was I couldn't be shaken. And so um now because I was young, I did run into now, being a Baptist boy, I did run into some of the old guard that wanted to, sort of make me fight with Saul's armor. Um, but that was about the gist of it for me. Just like kind of and I don't know. I tried to, practice humility and make sure that I listened because it was really the camaraderie and the love that I saw, around my father, um, that on one side made me be okay with it. Like I was like, oh man, they all cool, they kicking it in the back office, they laughing, having a good time. And then, you run into the Sanhedrin court and you like, hey, no, because I want to preach. I just don't want to be like them. I don't want to be that. I'm 19, not 99. So like, that was kind of it was a generational thing for me. Um, but once I got past that, I was good. Um, my because my father, and my literal father, was literally with me every step of the way. And I know nobody out there knows my father, but I just want to say this. My father, you know,
Well,
he's not a chest out guy. He's not a puffed up guy. He doesn't say a whole lot, but he's extremely compassionate and extremely kind. And he does what he says he's going to do. And he is who he is, and you don't have to worry about him switching up. His character is his character. And I just knew that as long as Pops was there, I was going to be okay. He was going to shield me from whatever nonsense was trying to come my way. And so, I don't know what conversations he had with people who were offering critiques, which my preaching was, God help those patient saints who listened to those sermons back then. But my dad kind of encouraged me and helped me navigate. So thank God for Dad.
no, man, just a word about your pops. I got to give big ups to your pops because, shortly after you and I met initially, my mom had passed away, and he actually was there. And it was the craziest thing about it was that, like, it was a whirlwind because it was like, even though I was the baby brother, everything got put on me, to try to handle. So I really didn't get the chance to interact with him. All I knew was like there was somebody that looked just like my boy Donté that was there. And I nudged my wife, Ashley. I nudged her. I was like, "Don't he look like Donté?" And so she happened to look. She was like, "Yeah, you should. That's his daddy." I said, "Yo, that's great." And he was he was so, like you said, he was compassionate, kind to every member of my family that was there, bro. So, just knowing what you're saying, like, I saw his heart that day. And it's so crazy that I got y'all because I didn't even think about this connection that you two have when I asked y'all to be on with my brother being in that industry right now. So it's crazy. But yeah, I got to give big ups to your dad, man. That's he always got my respect for real, like from that day, for sure. Pastor Ten,
Yes.
did anybody try to tell you like, hey, yo, Harold, bro, nah, don't. You 16, brother. Live your life. I heard that a lot. Like, but it was so crazy. Like, I have my old school, my grandmama speaking to me, saying, like, speaking life into my preaching, saying, you gonna preach one day. And I got my old uncle like, bro, you don't want to do that right now. You go ahead. You gotta live your life. You probably ain't even got none yet. Heck, stuff like that. So it was just like I was like, well, okay, I haven't got none yet. That was. So it was like, trying to like, what am I going to, and then so I chose the most popular route. Like, I'm gonna run from it. Right. So did you have anybody like
No, not at all. Wish I would have. Yeah, I wish I would have.
I got all the characters in my family apparently,
The only person, my first son is like a brother, but he was like, he's like, what does this mean? Like, you about to start preaching. He was the only one that when I look back on it, he's the only person. Everybody else was like, okay, well, you know what this means. And, talk to me like that. But nobody said, hey, you want to talk about this? Do you want to potentially wait? The first time I got any pushback, like you're talking about, like, hey, hold up on that, was my first church, was my grandmother who was married to my grandfather who had pastored over 30 years. And she was like, the particular church, she was like, why you want to go down there for? Like, she was like, your grandfather preached all these years and loved the people and done. She said, she said, yes, he's did a lot for people in the community, stuff like that. But this is what grandma said, she been in church her whole life. She said, she said, people ain't changing. And she said, she said, I understand you want to preach. And she said, I'll support you. But she said, when I look at it, the particular church and where I was going, she's like, basically, she was like, no. And she knew what she was saying, but she didn't want to totally, because she saw how excited I was, my first church. But to answer your question on the initial, no. So that's my answer. I'm gonna leave it there because I'm not gonna go into a bunch of other stuff. Go ahead.
No, you good, bro. No, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. That's real. That's real. So, like, when was the first time? I know we talked about the girls and everything like that, but when y'all actually got in, y'all did y'all trial ceremonies, y'all are licensed and ordained, y'all are reverends or ministers, however they want to call them. When was like the first time like you felt conflicted by what you were called to do as opposed to what you wanted to do? You know what I mean?
Well, I'll jump right in on that. So I preached my initial sermon after my freshman year of college. Yeah, that.
Ah,
So but the interesting thing about it was, um, I knew how to preach. I didn't know how to live. Um, nobody taught me. I had because you got to realize at this time I'm just going off of what I saw, and what I saw was only from a distance. You know, I hadn't had any of the elder statesmen really pull me aside and keep it real with me. That didn't happen. That didn't happen until honestly until I got my first church. And you know, when I went back to Marshall, I literally had just come from doing everything that a freshman in college does to enjoy the college experience. And did a lot of it. And now I'm coming back not only with my mind renewed, but standing on the foundation of a call which carries its own assumptions, right? So it's like, well, dang, like, now don't get it twisted. Everybody knew I was different. I was never like the fit-in guy. I mean, so it was pretty, and I wasn't like a lame or nothing, but it was just like, you know, hey, bro, I think some stuff about to go down. I don't think you want to be here for this. You might want to go. You know what I mean? I was that guy. You can be with us, but like it's certain stuff that I just respect you. Like I can tell I don't want you mixed up in this. And I was trying to get mixed up in it. But I came from that to going back to embracing this new me that if I'm being completely honest, I didn't even know what that meant. I thought I knew. I kind of had an idea, but I didn't know whether, I didn't know what that meant in terms of, you know, um, everyday holiness, in terms of, you know, sanctification, consecration, those sort of things that I had done up to that point to sort of keep my own sort of to maintain my own relationship with God. But in terms of my call, I didn't have anybody on that campus pulling me aside like, "Hey, man, you're a preacher now. Come by the church. Let me holler at you. Some things gonna be different. I want to help you navigate." I didn't have that, and I probably could have used a lot of that. And so that was kind of my first time just feeling the real uh, tension between my call and just really trying to figure out what it meant to embrace the call and the reality of what my life looks like in this new normal per se. So
Gotcha. No, that's real. No, that's real. I got you. What about you, Pastor T? What do you think? I was at that first conflict after you preach your trial, you ordained now. It's like, man, I feel I know I'm called, but no one wants to. So it's like, what
Yeah.
was that moment?
Well, the ordination didn't honestly come to some years later, after the initial sermon. Probably I'd started 1994. Initial sermon, Charles Sermon was licensed, but wasn't ordained to what was it? Was it 2000? 2000? It was years later. Anyways, but nevertheless, anyways, answer your question to Ben.
Break it up a little bit on this one.
Yeah. Was close.
Hey, Pastor T, you breaking up on us just a little bit. I think you glitching just a little bit. That's all right. We might have lost him here for a second, man. That's all right. That's all right. We'll get him back here shortly. Just please excuse the technical difficulties. But yeah, man. So when we talking about like so now you just you made this transition. Like you said, you left school, not left school, but you went back home, you went through the ordination of the, your trial sermon, etc. Now you coming back with this renewed purpose, this renewed mind, this renewed way of life on how you have to live, which is how you're called to live. The temptations are still there. You walking back into it pretty much the fire, so to
Yep.
speak. You know what I mean?
All that.
And it's crazy because you still got this heavy anointing on you and you still got this responsibility with your calling. So when you get to that point, like when you so after that, and you've been weathering through that, when you started really getting more, I say more so in the leadership role of the church, right? Where you start to be recognized as that. When did you feel like you was the most highly favored or at the church? Everybody was singing your praises, everybody was, on your side, everybody was behind you 100%. And during that time, right, when you felt the most favored by the church, did you feel that you were the most aligned with God?
Just in terms of my own journey, yeah, and I think there's always some tension in between um uh old seasons and new seasons. You go from glory to glory, and you know what um used to work in one season, um it's like now you find yourself in a space where you got to dig a little deeper, and that is only sort of it's also connected to um life stuff, because life doesn't stop even when ministry is going full speed ahead. um Life doesn't stop, and I think that in that space for me is where I begin to see some real tension. And it's interesting because, you know, you can be, really, really going full speed ahead. I mean, being used by God, seem like, I recall a certain season of my life where it was just like I could miss. Like, it was it was Jordan in the playoffs. It was, when he walked down the court and he was just like, "Hey man, I don't know, I'm having an out of body experience." You know, it was just that. But I think if looking back at it now, even in just this moment, like in real time, I'm looking back at it, I'm like, "Oh, that's the reason why that stuff started happening." Um, because God wanted to remind me that that stuff could go away at any moment. I needed him more than I needed a new program, more than I needed another meeting with the mayor, more than I needed to do stuff, you know, and be recognized. Um, I needed him. I think if I'm answering the question correctly, or if I'm just kind of if I'm in the vicinity,
Yeah.
um, I mean, yeah, I mean, I was that blessed to be able to do some pretty cool stuff, and you know, those things helped me to build relationships, most of which um, I still carry to this day. Real good folks. Um, but yeah, I mean, life happened in those moments um, where it's like I was so ministry, and then when I came away from that setting, it's just like, you know, um, temptation was always there, and it was there, and it was gonna be there, and those moments, uh, taught me a lot about my own spiritual journey, and, those moments of failure taught me a lot, most importantly, about my need of him, and, I don't know, if I can just say anything in that moment is that I pray for everybody who is greatly used by God, because I already know. I already know. I pray that you got the right people around you, and I pray that even when the people ain't around you, that you are the right person for yourself to tell yourself no.
Mm. Gosh, I got you. We gonna get into that. We gonna get into
So,
passion.
yeah, man, that's just
I got you. No, that's real. That's real. Pastor T, when you were the most highly favored at the church, you felt like everybody was in love with Pastor Timberlake. They couldn't get enough of Pastor Timberlake. At those times, did you feel like, well, when was that? At what point, if you can remember at that point in time? And then at that point in time, did you feel like you were aligned with God at that time, or were you out of line with God at that time? But it was just you was on this, you was kind of like in cruise control at that point. You could just kind of like do ministry in your sleep at this point because of whatever gifts you had, and they fell in love with that. But outside of that, when you left out of their sight, were you still aligned with God at that time, or do you feel like you were out of line?
Um, what I know about alignment and oneness and atonement, which is at one moment or minute. No, I wasn't. I didn't know that till much later, until what I would consider or call a rebirth. No, I wasn't all the years preaching. I don't deny the calling. I was called. I just didn't have the discipline for the calling. Didn't have the correct mentorship. So alignment, no, man, no, no. I know that now. I know the alignment now. I know the oneness now. I know the discipline now. No, and again that so there's a so So my ministry goes from 1994 to 2020, which is when I stepped aside from the pulpit. Then you go 2020 to 2025. That's how I see my ministry. That's how I see it, because I consider rebirth starting at 2020. So anything before that was pre-20. That was pre the knowingness. So I would take out of, now I know this is dangerous, but I'm being honest. Alignment did not really happen until the start of it is in 2020. Now, preaching from 1994 to 2020, 2001. So you have about 19, 20 years to pastoring and not really in full alignment or the oneness of what not the oneness in loving God, loving preaching, love that, but in the discipline of the oneness of the alignment of what I know now that it really should be. Didn't have it. Didn't have it. Just what? No. Again, that did not happen until, and even the consideration. Now, I would think about a lot of things, but I have no way, to be honest with you, which is why I'm thankful for what I would consider rebirth, because I'm like, man, this ain't initial sermon. This is into ministry, high school, going into college, into life, marriage. I'm just saying something ain't right. Something ain't right. Something ain't quite clicking. I'm looking at me, looking at church, people, looking at all this, and I'm like, and I love it. Something ain't right here. Well, yeah, right. Of course it ain't quite right. Ain't quite right with you. And the alignment of what you know it to be and should be, that you can be your most effective person. Because see, you know your life, and you cannot deny what it is that and how it is that you live. Things that you're thinking, things that you're seeing, and what you're feeling, sensing, and what people are saying. So all these things played a significant role, but a lot of things just didn't really line up. So at my highest, when people were loving me, oh no, alignment, nah, bro. I just knew how to do ministry, like you said. I do, because you there's a lot of things you repetitively, a lot of things you learn from those that came before you, especially if you're a church baby or born into that. Then you learn it by what you have done and what you know is ministry. So it just becomes something that you do, not something that you're intentional about living, but something that you're doing because you love it. You love God, you love Christ, you love the people, but it's all not necessarily aligning. So I had to live that, learn that, to get to this place now that I can even talk about it. Because there was a time, if I'd have been on a podcast like this, there are some things I'm sure I release on here I'd have never release, because I understand or understand when you hear yourself, you heal yourself. Some things I would have never released. That's how you kind of know if somebody's actually healed in the area anyway. They'll say it. They'll talk about it. If they don't want to talk about it, no. A lot of healing ain't happened there. I know that. I know it for a fact. So yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I think that with me, like when I got into ministry and I got into, my calling and, accepted, but I'll never forget but what I told about she was my wife as and yet she was my fiance at the time. And baby, I'm driving back from Cleveland to West Virginia with this heavy teaching that was on my mind, and this decision that I'm like, yo, I know I'm called to preach and everything like that. And I mean, my wife now, her first reaction when I told her was like, I ain't ready to be no preacher's wife. Like, I can't do that. I still like wine. This was her words exactly, bro. And I'm just like, baby, what does that have to do with anything? She's like, I just can't do it. Dealing with church people, and I gotta smile when I don't want to smile. All this other stuff, right? And so I'm just like, hey, but it's the calling of my life. So she eventually accepted that. And so now it's like, now I'm going into this thing where it's like, I'm the big lovable guy. I'm the big teddy bear. I love everybody. Everybody love me. I got the great sense of humor and all this other stuff. I mean, that's Pastor Donté. I hit him up on Facebook. Like my wife told me to hit like that. This my friend, and he about to pastor the church and this, that, and the third. I came off praying over him and joking with him, and we became. That's how we became cool. So it was just like that was the thing that I projected the most. But if I could be frank with y'all and the viewing audience, I was still, when I got through everything and was going through everything, I was still trapped between being this man of God and a hood nigga. Like, this is who I was. Like, I'm bad tempered, deal with things with my fists first. I wanted to intimidate you. You know what I mean? To anything like territorial, all this other stuff. And so this was me, and that was who I had to. To be honest with you, I still wrestle with pieces of that, even to this day. But that was who I was like, yo, I don't want to give up being this hood dude that really made me who I am, that where I really got my confidence from. I was bullied for a long time until I became a hood dude. And when I started beating people up, that was where my confidence came from. So when I would felt intimidated or felt scared to preach or whatever have you, that was the mentality I went in. I'm like, hey, none of these people whoop my, you know what I'm saying? So I was literally going up there with that. And it was just like, bro, like there had to been there should have been, I didn't have nobody to try to tell me to come up out of that. And a matter of fact, I felt so like when I announced my calling and, selling like, looking for mentorship or whatever have you, I felt so like the pulpit was being gate kept. Like it was just like, oh, you got to go through some rigmarole. You got no, brother. They ain't signed me to, my mentor. Shout out to Dr. Clark and everything. That's my guy still to this day. But I felt disrespected in so many ways. The hood mentality, like, oh, you what you scared of? Like, why you won't let me up there? And so it was just like, I used to have talks with Pastor Donté. I used to have talks. I remember shout out to Pastor Darren Freeman. I had talks with him. You know what I mean? It was just like, yo, bro, you gotta come at it a different way. You gotta be patient, etc. So I was like, all right, whatever, bet. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I just, when the opportunity arose, I would say my piece. And then other than that, like anything happened, I was had an attitude about it, man. And I had a grumbling, mumbling spirit that whole time until I moved. And it wasn't until I moved here to Charlotte, I ran into this guy. That's Timberlake. And so when I ran into him, and I'm like, yo, because we were searching for a church home. And he was the pastor. He rebooted this church, Good Shepherd. And it was a small church. Me and my wife, out of all the churches we had visited, we wasn't filling any of them. We've had as large ones, medium ones. It was crazy. But it was like when I got with him and I told him, I was like, yo, I got this call to preach. My expectation was like, he gonna treat me because it's gonna be gate kept. He was the only pastor, he was the only one on the ministry board. It was gonna be gate kept. But this brother, like, if anybody took me, I was like, all right, like I still call it Pastor T's pastor boot camp. Like we was up in there. He had me doing like practicing sermons and writing my first sermon and all this other stuff, just 101. Like I didn't get none of that when I was starting. So I'm just like, bruh, is this what it like? This is crazy. So now, hood mentality. I went hell. You do that for me. nobody better talk to you wrong. I'm I'm coming at him like, yo, what's good? And he had to check me and go like, hey, don't play it. Don't, hey, you come a little too aggressive. Like I'm behind the pulpit. Like, hey, somehow we're gonna have an uncomfortable conversation. I'll never forget that. He said, so he had to come up behind me after I said this. This was about people leaving stuff in the pews. Like, like pick up after yourself or whatever. He was like, hey, player, hey. No, don't do, we gotta, with love. I don't know that. I know aggression. That's me. That's what I am. Yo, they not listening to you? Oh, I get them to listen to you. That was how I was. He was like, bro, we can't do it that way. We gotta do it. So it would that really started me on my different journey as far as getting away from that, I guess that Peter spirit, I guess you want to call it, whatever, to try to be more like Christ in that instance. But everything else was cool. Everything else I can love on people. I can preach the word. I knew the word for the most part. But then there was just that, it was just that initial them rough spots that had to get, that had to get chiseled away. So yeah, man. So I was in sync with the church, but I was out of sync with God in that aspect. Because I just felt like this was the way that I had to handle everything. And I even have a certain aggression, you know, or had a certain aggression with my teaching and preaching, and I just felt like if I felt like it was right, then everybody else like, yo, y'all ain't hearing me on this. And I remember, man, one time, bro. I don't know if you remember this, Dante. I was going through this brief period of where I was trying to, like I said, heart for God, but it was about Christmas. And I was talking to you about, what you feel about this and this, that, that, and I was eyeing all this. So that's everybody. He's like, yes, that's how you feel. But you gotta understand that not everybody feel this way about this. And it's like, so yeah, we respect that you taking the time to learn about it, but you can't force that on anybody and get upset that that we not just like, hey, well, it's Randy saying this, so we just gonna go along with it. And so again, I felt like I was being disrespected, like I didn't know what I was talking about. You know what I mean? So it's these, bruh, what I can tell you, like there was so many lessons learned, and it was all because of just me. It was insecurity for when I was a youngin'. Like I felt like nobody respected me. And so the only way I could get respect is either by intimidation, beating you up, or what I'm saying, just being aggressive. So
And
I
and
learned.
I was just gonna jump in there real quick because
Yeah.
I not to interrupt Pastor Harold's thoughts, but I just wanted to jump in there real quick because I think that we don't talk about that enough, about the stuff that we've yet to unpack um on our journey to become what we believe God has called us to be. And so you have pulpiteers who are uh dragging a lot of trauma to the pulpit. Some are leaving and starting their own churches. And not to castigate because, I mean, again, as long as there's people in the church will be imperfect. But I think that um, those sorts of things, because, and this could be for a number of reasons, but I, I just honestly believe that we should have as much conversation around those sort of things as to why we are triggered when certain things happen in ministry, um, as we do about homiletics and hermeneutics. Because I feel like, yes, you can matriculate, but on another end, your humanity um is so we go through so much as people to the point where people can love our gift, but our gift can take us places where our character can't keep us because we get we God uses us, we're celebrated, we're affirmed in this area. But then we got area A, B, C, D, E, F, G that we it's like we can almost compartmentalize it for the sake of the call, and we're not whole. And so we get to places, you know, in our lives and in our ministries, where we find ourselves in sort of these predicaments where one thing takes us in a whole nother direction. And now, because we've yet to unpack that and yet to really deal with that, you know, that's now sort of become another uh, flaw in our character. When in actuality, if we just would have carried it to the feet of Jesus, or more importantly, had somebody to keep it real with us and just talk with us about these issues, um, non-judge without judgment,
Right.
because I think that that's important. Um, yeah, I want to say more, but I'm talking too much.
No, bro. You good. You good. Pastor T, like, so, well, I just want to I want to transition to this, man, because I really want to make sure that we spend time with this one. Um, I want to hear y'all stories, man. When was the point where you look back when you fell out of fellowship, where it was just saying, I don't know whatever the mistake was, whatever happened, um, whatever temptation caught up with you, whatever have you, what, when, and what point, or what was that story like as far as how you fell out of fellowship?
So, so here it is. The Christ, he dies on the cross. Well, so I've got this different way of thinking about a lot of things now, even as far as the story of Christ and what that really means for us as humans. What does that really mean? What is it really saying? Um, so I think what happens is, well, this is just my thought. Everybody has their own interpretation, but how I'm thinking, so Christ dies on this cross, and here Luke 17:21 talks about the kingdom of God being inside of us. So if that be the case, and we're supposed to walk in the steps of Christ or Jesus, so we have to go to the cross, or we have to bear our cross, of course. But in life, we come to a crossroads. So I think what happens is we come to this cross, and this is what happened in ministry, to answer your question. So I came to this place in the cross because notice I've been dealing with this my whole life, right? So this is after being saved or baptized and preaching all these years. But I finally got to this place that I came to the crossroads, really. I'm not talking so much of getting on the cross, but I'm on the crossroads because now I got to make a decision. Because at the cross, you got to make the decision. At the cross where I first saw the light, birds in my heart, and all that stuff. But I came to this cross and I had to make a decision. And I started looking at my life like, wait a minute. Let me just look at my life. Because I saw myself. I started seeing myself before I got to that place. I started seeing myself. I started really, it's almost like as I was coming to 2020 from the time that, because the last Sunday, 2019 was my last Sunday when I was considered pastor. In 2020, first Sunday in 2020, no longer when I was pastor in Mount Zion. So I started to look at my life that last year, the last month, and I'm like, something ain't quite right. And really, so to be out of fellowship, I was never asked in any church to leave. I was never dismissed or anything. Any place that I was at, I took it upon myself to say, I gotta go. That's me. Even yeah. And because I again love Christ, love the scripture, love everything about that. But then looking at my life and said, it's not quite right. It's not quite right. So instead of me taking the congregation through what's going on with me, let me remove myself. Let me make sure the congregation is straight as best as I possibly can. And let me go on this journey and see what it is that God is saying to me. Because I don't want to take them through this. I can't even explain this because I can't even explain myself. I don't even know myself well enough to explain it. You know, you was at Zion at that time. People wonder, here it is. I'm presenting. Hey, y'all, I gotta go. I'm gonna leave. Why? And I couldn't really tell them because I didn't want to. I just knew that, and what was happening. What I know now is Harold Lee Timberlake III was really. I was dying. The old man, 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things have passed away, all things have become. I was coming apart. I was shedding. I was coming apart. I was seeing myself. I'm like, I can't. It's almost like I was coming. What the prodigal son says when he came to himself. I was coming to myself saying, not right, not right, not right. I can't do this. Not that I can't preach, love preaching, but I can't take them through this because I'm coming apart. God is doing something with me, and I'm starting to think different. I'm starting to look at myself different, look at the congregation different. And I'm looking at things like, okay, are miracles really what does it mean? This stuff in the scripture, Jesus tells a man to take up his mat and walk, and it says it immediately. What does this stuff mean? Is this stuff factual? What does this stuff mean for my life? Is this actually applying to my life, what I'm preaching? Am I applying it to my life? Am I really seeing changes? Am I seeing these changes that I'm preaching in reality, not in my preachery type situation? I'm talking about me, just me. And I'm like, man, and so all these things. And then I get to a place that I come to the crossroad and I have to make a decision. I'm convinced if you don't make a decision will be made for you. I had to make a decision about my life as far as ministry goes. And I chose the decision. I will truly, at this point in time, so up until this point, just been church, preaching ever since all these years and all this stuff. And I got to a place to say, you know what? I'm willing to leave that right where it is, and I'm willing to walk with Jesus, just me.
Oh. Yeah. Step into the moment, the time is now. We're here to talk about the why and how. Every move we make, every step we take, it's all for His glory. We're wide awake. Yeah, we're called to walk this road together through the highs and stormy weather. Disciples dance, disciples dance. We're called to honor, we're called to bless. Yeah, disciples dance. Stay